Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be. Guess what? It's time for another exciting adventure into science here. Live from the Brennan Bunker, somewhere in the soon-to-be non-quarantine Southeast United States. Hey, it's another day of ACE Academy 8th grade science. I hope you've had a fantastic couple of days here. I know mine's been pretty decent, so as you wind these last couple of days down inside the house, remember, we did this for a reason. You have to look at the numbers about the disease and figure out that, hey, there was an issue. So as we continue to go on through the Earth Systems unit, we're going to talk today about some water quality. And water quality has, depending on where you are, water quality may or may not be an issue. Some places it is, some places it isn't. But hey, but you gotta be able to know what it is before you talk about it. So I can describe water quality and how society regulates it. So, well, we first know what water is. H2O, the universal solvent, covers 75% of the earth and makes up 60% of the human body. So considering that's over half of you, having water of quality that is, that is good is definitely something important to, have. So, well, you get the picture. So it's important. So we use the term water quality to give an overall impression of how good a certain body of water it is. By good, we mean useful for certain purposes. Water can be potable, right there in red, potable, which means fit for consumption. You can drink it. A lot of times if you pass by a construction site, you'll see a big, water tank, either like a trailer or a water truck, and it'll be written on the side of it. It'll say non-potable water. And the reason they put that on there, because that water is usually used for, they get it out of a fire hydrant or something, or sometimes they just suck it out of a creek or a lake, and they use it for, wetting down the roads, making sure there's no dust, for other, making concrete, something like that. Stuff that, they don't need, it's not human consumption. But they have to write that on there so that people don't accidentally drink out of it. So water can also be safe. So potable and safe are two different words. So is this water safe? Well, I mean, if you just ask if it's safe and the guy says, yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean it's okay to drink. So because safe is actually a different quality a different level of quality. Water can be safe, for which can be used for bathing and cleaning, but not drinking. So, but who sets these terms? Who determines what is potable and what is safe? How do we know what is good for us? So in the United States, the governing body that sets water standards is called the Environmental Protection Agency. Now, as a libertarian and a person who's like, hey, leave me alone, I'll leave you alone, you leave me alone, stay out of my pocket, leave my money alone kind of thing. Having the government have power over you kind of thing is not exactly something I really am thrilled with. But on the flip side, when you look at what totally unregulated business and everything else does, you realize that, okay, just because you're a reasonable person and you're not going to go dump toxic things in the lakes, rivers, and streams like that, doesn't mean that everybody thinks the same way. So there are plenty of people out there that will take the dollar now and go and do something that destroys the quality of water around them, even though down the road that might actually end up hurting them. They want they need things to happen good for them now. So I mean, water quality is something that is an issue around the world. Now, in the United States, we've had water quality standards since basically World War II. Yeah, prior to the war, things weren't looked at nearly like the way they are. But again, I mean, the population was so much lower, industry was concentrated in some places, and it was just not something that was thought about, on a grand scale. And again, the medical field wasn't as capable of determining, that things like this were actually harming us as they are, today. So only since medicine has come along and determined that, oh, geez, if we eat or drink this, then it's bad for us, produces effects that we don't like, whether it gives us cancer or rots our intestines, or eats our toes off, whatever it is. Um, only since medicine has advanced have we figured out that, oh yeah, by the way, we don't need to put all this junk in our water, so we're not drinking it and using it to cook with. So the Environmental Protection Agency can't, was put into place. It is actually a cabinet level position um, in the government. It's one of the I think 12 cabinet level positions, State Department, Defense Department, but EPA is right in that same group of people. So it is a huge deal in the United States. Some people say, yeah, we just need to get rid of the EPA, and I'm like, no, not really, because if you want to go, what happens when you get rid of the EPA? Let's, down the bottom of this, I'll show you some pictures from China and what total lack of water quality standards looks like in the environment. So the EPA says set the maximum level of exposure for about 90 most commonly occurring contaminants. They regularly test water supplies around the U.S. and bring enforcement actions against businesses, individuals, and even local governments. Hey, look at the Flint water system. A lot of you guys have parents that might be Democrats and everything else. And so one of the things that, as things are political these days, everybody, oh, Trump stinks. Oh, Trump's great, whatever. It doesn't really matter what you believe but when one party rules, like places up north, like in Michigan, Detroit, Flint, those areas where the it doesn't matter. It was Democrats, but I mean, it was one party. It doesn't matter if it's one party. Republicans, geez, when they rule things, and there's no opposition to them, it goes the other way, and it's just as bad. So I mean, it's not like it's this party versus that party. It's when you have one party and there's no opposition. So if you look at Flint, Michigan, just go Google the Flint, Michigan water scandal. Heck, we'll do it right now. Flint, Michigan. When you Google Flint, Michigan, let's see what pops up right here. City of Flint. Okay. And then look at the questions. Is Flint water safe to drink now? How bad is Flint, Michigan? What was the cause of the Flint water crisis? What's Flint, Michigan known for? Flint, right there. Like, what was it? The third thing? City of Flint, Flint, Michigan, Wikipedia. Flint water crisis. Third thing in Google. Flint water crisis. Flint water crisis. Flint water crisis. Does Flint have clean water? Yes, but it's complicated now. But anyway, so even in the United States, we do have water quality issues. Even to this day, because this just came up within the last couple of years. And it's an entire municipal city water system. But again, when you have one party running a government, in this case, a city government, and nobody opposes that party and nobody says squat when they do things funny, guess what happens? You have issues, period. So the EPA finally came down on them, and now they're having to bring their water system up to standards because their local water was not safe to drink. It was coming out of the faucet, and the city was like, oh yeah, it's safe to drink. No, it wasn't. So guess what? Anytime somebody from the government shows up and goes, hey, I'm from the government, I'm here to help, usually you need to run and scream in the other direction. But that's, just a piece of advice. Because governments aren't always got your best interest in mind. But that's just me. Because anyway. So in the United States, EPA has two major federal laws controlling water quality. And these two sections right here, that's the Safe Water Drinking Act and the Clean Water Act, I copied straight off the EPA's website. So again, when I paste and copy and paste, I will tell you. But this information comes straight off the EPA's website. So the Safe Water Drinking Act was passed in 1974, 2 years after I was born. I would say I had horrible water for 2 years. Got clean? No, that's not how that works. But it was just it wasn't suddenly we had no rules and now we do. I mean, like I said, so water regulations go all the way back to World War II, mid-1940s. So this Safe Water Drinking Act just kind of put them all in one place and gave them the government enforcement capability over water quality rules. Beefed them up, made them stricter. Because in the late 60s, early 70s, I mean, we really, especially up in the industrial Northeast and Midwest, Flint, Michigan, and there were a lot of issues. If you go Google stop the share for a second, not on purpose. Right here, click, share, bing. Let's go here. If you go and Google Love Canal, and you're like, wow, Love Canal? That sounds like a neat place. When you Google the word Love Canal, it's like, oh, Love Canal, Wikipedia. Why would Love Canal? And then you look at that neighborhood, Niagara Falls, New York, infamous location of a 70-acre landfill became the site of a massive environmental disaster. Love Canal tragedy. Second entry. Love Canal, a brief history. So anyway, environmental disasters are not limited to other places around the planet. I mean, we've had our share here in the United States. So, top 10 environmental disasters, Love Canal. All right, so let's see what this says. This sounds like it'll be a brief overview of what happened there. The Love Canal, 1978. 1978, this is after the Clean Water Drinking Act. Love Canal, located near Niagara Falls in upstate New York, was a nice little working class enclave with hundreds of houses and schools. It just happened to sit atop 21,000 tons of toxic industrial waste that had been buried in the ground in the 1940s and 50s by a local company. Back when there weren't any regulations. They just buried the stuff. And then guess what? They went out of business, wandered off, and nobody knew. Over the years, the waste began to bubble up into backyards and cellars. By 1978, the problem was unavoidable, and hundreds of families sold their houses to the federal government and evacuated the area. The disaster led to the formation in 1988 of the Superfund program, which helps pay for cleanup of major toxic waste sites. Well, that doesn't tell you why it's a canal and why it's water. So Love Canal was an aborted canal project off of, branching off the Niagara River about 4 miles south of Niagara Falls. It's also the name of a 15-acre working class neighborhood of around 800 homes directly adjacent to the canal. 42 to 53, the Hooker Chemical Company, which is was a huge company back in those days, with government sanction, being using partially dug canal as a chemical waste dump. So they dug the canal way early. Canals, again, were used back when trains weren't invented yet. So, canals, were a long, long time ago as far as moving. So they started making this canal, and then something else, a little late in the game, and then they said, oh wait, no. So it's just a ditch, basically. At the end of this period, the contents of the canal consists of 21,000 tons of toxic chemicals, with at least 12 that are known carcinogens, which gives you cancer. And Hooker capped the 16-acre hazardous waste landfill in clay and sold the land to the Niagara Falls School Board. They sold it to the school. So anyway, huge issues, huge issues. Let's see. Let's see. Water on fire. River on fire. River on fire. Now, again, these kind of things are not, limited to other places. So also, in addition to, the Love Canal, which was a canal project that went bad. So now in the United States, it's like, okay, how bad does water have to be polluted that it literally catches fire? The Cuyahoga River caught fire. Oops, hey, how about that? Wait. At least a dozen times. No one cared until 1969. This is in Cleveland. It's like downtown Cleveland, Cuyahoga. Despite being much smaller than previous fires, the river blaze in Cleveland 50 years ago became the symbol for the nascent environmental movement. So the river became so polluted that it literally caught fire. So in the summer of '69, a recent high school graduate, Tim Donovan, needed a job to pay his college tuition. When it came to well-paid summer work in Cleveland, there was one good place to look: the steel mills. Oh, look at that. Industry causing pollution. When it came, Donovan went to work as a hatch tender for Jones and Lockman Steel, standing at the top of machines stationed along the river to help unload ore carriers. His first interaction with the river and his experience didn't make him feel good about it. River was a scary thing, Donovan says. There was a general rule that if you fell in, God forbid, you would immediately go to the hospital. So if you got into the water, and this is a river running through town, you had to go to the hospital immediately. The water was nearly always covered in oil slicks, and it bubbled like a deadly stew. Sometimes rats floated by, their corpses dead. But I mean, again, things when you just dump stuff in the water, without any issue, care for what you're putting into the water. Let's see. Accompanying photo from an incident in 1952. So basically, the river caught fire. Literally, that's water on fire. So there's reasons that we've created these laws here in the United States. So, and that's why we, have come up with these, these water, pollution laws. And there's a reason that we enforce them is so highly as we do, because again, you don't want your rivers to catch fire. How do you put it out? You can't just pour more water on it. It's already water. So in 1974, the Safe Water Drinking Act was passed to establish the quality of drinking water in the U.S. The law focuses on all waters actually or potentially designed for drinking use, whether from above ground or underground. The act authorizes the EPA to establish minimum standards to protect tap water and requires all owners and operators of public water systems to comply with these primary health-related standards. In 1996, that's fairly lately, right? The amendments to the Safe Water Drinking Act required EPA to consider a detailed risk and cost assessment and best available peer-reviewed science while developing these standards. Blah, 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 blah. State governments, minimum standards for state programs, protect underground sources of drinking water. Okay. From endangerment of injection of fluids. Hey, fracking, that's what that's called. So the Clean Water Act establishes the basic structure for regulating discharges of pollutants in the waters of the United States and regulating quality standards for surface waters. The basic Clean Water Act was enacted in 1948, right there after World War II. It's called the Federal Water Pollution Control Act, but the act was significantly reorganized and expanded in 1972. Basically 1972. So the whole caught fire thing, 1969. So basically, that's about how fast government works. 1969, the river catches fire and catches everybody's attention. And in 1972, we finally, passed some more laws to help, stop the rivers from catching fire in major cities. So under the CWA, EPA has implemented pollution control programs such as setting wastewater standards for industry, develop national water quality criteria recommendations for pollutants in surface waters, national pollutant discharge elimination system program. Point sources are discrete conveyances such as pipes or man-made ditches. So point source, there's a word we'll go over again, but point source means there's literally like a pipe, a specific thing with pouring stuff into and pollution into a water source. So those are basically the two big waters. So the Safe Water Drinking Act and the Clean Water Act. Those are what, basically the laws that override, water quality here in the United States. So these laws cover the primary ways that water quality is defined. There are three major parts to water quality. These three parts are the physical variables, the temperature, turbidity, how the water is moving. The chemical variables, including dissolved oxygen and other gases, pH, nitrates, salinity, and the biological variables that are assessed by investigating. You look at the bioindicators. We'll go over the next couple of days. We're going to run through all three of those and address how we do it. So, and then again, I've already showed you some of the horrible things that happen with water. So one might ask, is all this really necessary? Do people really act carelessly with water, even though there's a small percentage of it's clean enough to drink? Because remember, of all the water on the planet, 97% of it is salt water. And of the remaining chunk of it, that remaining like 3% of fresh water on the planet, most of that is frozen in ice caps and glaciers. We have such a little bit of the water on the planet that we actually can drink. We do need to take care of it, because guess what? Without 60% water, people, you don't have drink water. If you're stranded somewhere, the thing you die of first is dehydration. Happens in like 3 days. You can go 10 days without eating, and heck, if you got a couple extra pounds on you, can go even longer than that. But 3 days, yeah, you're done because of dehydration. So water is important. It's one of the things. It's one of the reasons we haven't really set up on the moon is like a moon colony or anything. There's no water, and we couldn't transport enough water there in spaceships because it's too heavy and too expensive to actually have sustainable life on the moon. So one of the things that we've looked at, we'll keep looking at Mars, going, all right, we want to send people there. It's like, is there water there? Can we get water there? Because again, remember, water almost about 8 pounds a gallon, and each human needs a couple gallons a day. That's a lot of weight just dragging around water to get to be able to live some way. So I mean, water is one of those things that is just it has so much to do with so many things. So, but again, do you think people really act carelessly with water, even though it's so little of it's available to drink? And the answer is yes. There are always people that care more for themselves and their business and what's going on right now and the dollars they're going to make right now than the long-term effects of just not cleaning up this water before I dump it in the creek, or not cleaning up this sludge before I go put it somewhere and it seeps into the groundwater, because I want to make the money now, even though I may still live in this town 30 years from now when the groundwater goes bad and I get cancer, but that's 30 years from now. I want my money now. So what happens is if you don't have regulations and a body that will come down on you with the force of government, you end up with things like this. I'm going to show you some pictures. So look at this. These pictures are all from China. Like China. That place that we just got this massive disease from? Oh yeah. There's a reason that stuff kind of originates in China a lot. It's because number one, it's a communist country. The government controls everything, and the government, all it cares about is the government. It is not for the good of the people. It is for the good of the government. The people are, frankly, disposable over there. And they act like it as far as the government goes. Because look at this pollution. This is normal in China. This is why it's so cheap to produce things in China, because there are no regulations governing, cleaning up stuff. When you have a factory and you're making things and you have, the byproducts from whatever you're making, the chemicals or whatever else, when you're done with it, guess what you can do? You just dump in a creek or the river or whatever. And then their stuff looks like this. But you want to, that's a creek. It's red. Water is not red. That's a stream. Number one, it's got like garbage in it everywhere, and it's also red. And then this is some sort of canal or something in a city. You can see this nice, beautiful stainless steel railing here so people don't fall in. Because good Lord, if you fell into that, just like the Cuyahoga River that dude was talking about in 1969, if you fell into that, you probably need to go to the hospital immediately. Hey, look at this. Here's this big pipe. This pipe comes from a factory. It's just, you look at what it's just dumping crud into the water. Now look at the air. Their air's not doing much better, than their water right now. But look at the water. Look at the crud going in there. Do you want to eat something out there? Do you want to swim in that? No. Could you drink that? Heck no. So they don't have an EPA over there. There's no body in the government saying, hey, you can't pollute, and the water needs to be clean. In searching for these pictures, I ran across things that said like 60% of the groundwater in China now is contaminated to the point where you can't drink it. 60% of their groundwater. They may be the most populous place on the planet right now. They may think they're a first world country. They may think, oh yes, we are on par with the United States. They are not. They still let stuff like this go on. That's why everybody likes to make things over there, because it's so cheap. You pay a person a couple of pennies a day to work, and the company that's doing it, you only have to pay them a couple pennies for the stuff, because guess what? They don't have any pollution controls. They can put all the smoke and crowd into the atmosphere they want to, and they can dump all the liquid pollutants they want into their lakes and streams. And frankly, they can just dump their garbage anywhere too, is what it looks like. That's why it's so cheap. Everybody's like, oh yeah, we need to bring, you just got to be prepared to pay a little bit more for stuff, because guess what? Clean air, the air is free. Everybody, this is when you talk about, well, the air is free. No, the only free thing on the planet is sunlight. Everything else costs money. Everything. Everybody's like, well, air is free. No, it's not. That's what free air looks like. See that free air right there on that picture? That's smoke and smog and industrial pollution. That's what free air looks like. You want to breathe that? No. You want to breathe the nice clean air we have here in the United States. That clean air here in the United States costs money in the form of companies that are, scrub their stuff and create different solutions for, manufacturing things that don't send all the smoke and pollution into the air. It costs money. That means the products that they make cost more than products that can be made someplace where they don't have to do that, like China. So air is not free. You pay for it in the cost of things that you buy that don't look like this. Does that make sense? I hope it does. If you have any questions about that, please drop me a line. I will be happy to explain it to you in further detail. So, water quality, it is important. If you have any questions, hey, so remember, like the video, give me a good thumbs up on the likes. Say in the comment section on the video on YouTube, hey, I'm here. That's your attendance for the day. And when you do that and you notice that only a couple of your friends have done it, hey, guess what? Some of your friends aren't coming to class. Please get on and say, hey, why aren't you in Brenneman's class? It's very interesting. It's very, and when we talk about stuff like this, it's nasty. But again, that's just the way things are these days. Let's see. So remember, like the video, comment in the comment section, counts for your attendance. Subscribe to the channel. Hey, a special shout out to TJ. He's been the longest running subscriber to my channel. TJ, when we ever get to the point where we see each other again, I'll give you a little special bonus prize for that. Anyway, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I know this lesson kind of ran long, but this is something I kind of, care about. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.